Welcome to the Inspired Riding Podcast. I'm your host, Beth Lauren Parrish. As a certified riding instructor, remote coach, and rapid transformational therapy practitioner, a powerful form of hypnotherapy, I'm here to remind you to slow down, trust your intuition, and really deeply listen to your horse. And this will make for the best co-creative dances possible, whether you're on the ground or connecting on their backs. Thank you so much for being here, and here we go. Hello there, Inspired Riders. We're continuing on with the Riding Instructor interview series. In this podcast, I'm going to be interviewing Aimee Zabst. Aimee Zabst brings more than 25 years' experience professionally training horses and teaching people to ride and handle horses. Her experience and dedication to developing new riders can help them on their journey to achieve their horsemanship dreams. She starts beginners or anywhere else on their journey to develop kind, knowledgeable, and effective horse handling skills. Her experience spans junior riding starting at age 10 and eventually competing in hunter jumpers, equitation, and Western pleasure, through professional competition as an adult in hunter jumpers, Western pleasure, and dressage. She grew up in New Mexico, competing all over the state, and then moved to Las Vegas. She finished college and got back into horses and competition, and finally started her professional training and instructing career in 1995. She moved to California in 2005 and started a new business training and teaching for 12 years, focusing on dressage. After she moved to Oregon in 2017 with 3 young prospect horses and a seasoned lesson horse, Aimee started her new venture, creating Where the Heart Is Ranch. Her lesson program is flourishing, with her sweet pony, a half-draft horse, a quarter horse, and several thoroughbreds in the mix to provide a variety of experiences for many types of riders. Aimee continues to teach the skills of balanced riding and wise horsemanship to her many students from the area. So wherever you are on your journey, Aimee can help you define and achieve your own dreams. I'm so excited to interview her, and here we go. Aimee, thank you so much for being here with me.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, as you know, we're doing our riding instructor interview series, and so my first question is, what do you love most about teaching?
What do I love most about teaching? I've thought about this, and over the years, I've been teaching for a very long time. And so, when you have to kind of think back sometimes on some of your favorite things, just because day to day you get real busy. But I do, and this happens every time. A young person, or I guess even an adult, does like a trot for the first time or a canter for the first time, and they start laughing and giggling, especially those who can't control it. I just love that. It's great, to see their joy, just being able to ride the horse and do something, exciting like that. I like that probably the most.
I love that. Those instant giggles are the best.
Yes.
So fun. That reminds me of a little girl I taught. She was on the lunge line, and a horse spooked near her, but we were still fine on the lunge line, but the pony picked up the canter, and she had never cantered before. And I got the pony to stop, and she rode it fine, and I thought she was going to cry, but she just looked at me and went, "What was that? And can I do it again?"
Oh, that's awesome.
It was so darling. So, yeah, it's always fun to have those little surprises. It's really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
So have you shifted any way in your teaching style over the years?
When I first started teaching, I was doing all group lessons, and I had a group of kids that were similar in age, and we were doing mostly the same things. We went to horse shows and things like that, and they would ride multiple times a week, and it was great. It was kind of like how I took lessons when I was growing up, and so that was a very easy sort of jump into, doing the lessons. Over the years, I've moved a few times, restarted my whole business, in different locations. And when I was doing lessons in California, it ended up being mostly private lessons, particularly because dressage isn't really suited to group lessons. So I started doing a lot more dressage lessons. And then when I moved to Oregon, it just kind of continued that way, as I focused more on beginners, because I have lesson horses. And, so I like to start the beginners in private lessons. So I've done a lot more focus on private lessons, as the years have gone by. And, just even though in group lessons, I do concentrate on making sure each person is individually, challenged, and we work on, things for each person and horse. I still think that the private lessons are kind of the majority of where I teach.
And do you like it more, or is it about the same?
I like it because I can get a lot more feedback from the student. We can work on things immediately, I think the students sometimes like the group lessons because they can maybe hide in a corner and away with stuff if I make them drop their stirrups or something. But, I think for me, the private lessons are good because I just like the one-on-one. The group lessons are fun because people have fun with each other and they can learn from each other. So, I like that too. But I think the private they probably make the most progress that way.
Yeah, it's probably a slightly more rewarding.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I remember so many group lessons as a kid and teaching them when I was actually in California, teaching a lot of children taking group lessons. But yeah, I did thrive more in the privates, and I still love teaching privates more. But it is fun to get a group together, and especially if you've got some good music playing, maybe even have them do a little pas de deux together and do little drill teams and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, and I do that. I have done that, when I have the opportunity to do like drill team kind of stuff. And that's very challenging for the horses and the riders, to do that. And when we do, they're like, wow, that was really cool. That was really fun. They don't like to do it for like many, many weeks in a row, but it is a fun challenge for them.
It is, and that reminds me, I want to do that more when I get groups together again.
Yeah, it is fun. I forget about it too, and then every once in a while, I was like, you know what? Let's just do this because kids who maybe haven't met each other before, or worked together, or maybe new horses, So it's a good way for them to kind of coalesce and learn how to work with each other.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you have to figure out which horses work well together as well, and make sure there aren't going to be any mishaps. So, yep.
Yes.
So cool. So, Aimee, how do you stay inspired?
Well, it is hard because I've been teaching for 30 years. Where I live now is kind of far from a lot of the things that I really liked about California. Now I'm not really that close to being able to access other trainers to do some dressage training with other people for myself. And, shows and things like that. I'm really kind of tied down to my place. So I've sort of grown roots, but, as a Christian, I find motivation in, whatever work I do, to excel and be good at that and be able to concentrate on whatever it is. If I'm cleaning stalls or riding a Grand Prix horse, it's like, you find that sort of inspiration in the job that you're doing. But I also, I am lucky that I'm on a property with my horses, and I have, 8 horses here that are just wonderful, companions really. And they're, even though it's a lot of work, it does inspire me to be out in nature with them and to just, be doing the day-to-day with them also.
That's beautiful. Are all 8 horses lesson horses, or?
I have one of the horses. She's a retired dressage horse from California that a friend sent to me. A couple of the horses are just my personal horses, and then the rest of them are teaching lessons.
Right on. That's so cool.
Yeah. So it's not a giant lesson program by any means, but it's manageable for one person, like me.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have
some teaching tips that you'd like to share that would help elevate the horse world?
Okay, well, tips. I do, I think a lot of people these days are kind of getting out of having lesson horses. I think they're, and I agree, they're very expensive. There's a lot of overhead. It's a huge investment into a program to have lesson horses. But if you have them, take care of them. They're very valuable assets. I also try to always teach the riders to appreciate them too, because I think they don't really understand sometimes that, I have a horse who maybe gives lessons to 5 or 6 different people in a week. And so all these people are different and big and small and scared and not scared. And I don't know, and these horses have to adjust to those people. So I do explain it to each student. It's like, well, these are the things we have to do because this is a lesson horse and they're a little different. They're very reliable. They are consistent on, how we communicate with them, but you have to understand that other people are doing it too. So we have to, maybe put up with some things that they learn that may not be the greatest things, but they're always teachable moments for the students. Yeah. With the lesson horses is a big deal, maintaining that and using them as a teaching moment for the students as well. If the students have their own horses, is a whole different world, that for the pair. I also think making the barn a safe place is a really important thing. Like when kids come, there's a lot of kids who have come to me who, talk about their days and what's been happening in their lives and things like that. And unless I think they're in big trouble or something, and I'm usually in tune with the parents knowing what's going on with these kids' lives, I just let them talk and I don't share that information with anybody. It's just something for them to kind of get off their shoulders and help them relax and have a good time. Same thing with adults, just getting the work day off their shoulders or whatever they're going through. I like to make where we are, a good place to let everything go. Sometimes I force them to, it's like you have to really concentrate on the horse. You have to, purposely let go of whatever's going on with you and listen to what I'm telling you with this horse, and it really helps them kind of have a moment where they are not pressured by the outside world. It's all focused on the horses. And I think that helps a lot of people. Other things that I do that I think are helpful and I've seen good results with is I set goals for everybody. Even if I don't tell them what my goals are, I kind of, I sort of assess people's personalities and ask them what they would like to do. And then I understand, or I think about a plan for them as how they will progress, either which horse they will ride, which horses they will ride, things like that. I like to kind of assess them, at the beginning and then continually push them, so they don't get bored. So there's always some kind of a challenge with the riding. Another thing that I like to do is make sure, and a lot of people ask for this actually, is to do horsemanship, where they're learning a lot more, especially out here in Oregon. They potentially are going to buy a horse and have it in their backyard. So they're interested in learning a lot more about how to handle the horse on the ground, all the things you can do with the horses on the ground. I mean, I teach them lunging and, showmanship and stuff and how to just handle them, from the lead line and then other things like first aid and, tack care and just, all those things that you have to do. If you own a horse, you're going to need to know that stuff. So, I've always kind of taught with that idea in mind is that these horses are good for people who don't know what they want to do, but they know they love horses. So this is an introduction on not only what kinds of riding there are, but what kinds of horses there are and how to take care of them and, how much it's going to take care of them. So I do I also give students a chance to try different things. I'm lucky that I have horses that'll do English and Western, and most of them can go bareback, and so we can we can just have fun days and stuff like that. So, having options for students when they maybe get a little bit burnt out on, geez, we're always going, the same routine every lesson and stuff. I try to change it up.
That's so good. Yeah, variety is so important. And I love that you teach horsemanship as well. It's so good.
Yeah, I think it really helps. Not everybody wants to learn that, and you can tell who is going to stay with the horses and who isn't.
Well, I love those tips, and I really like that you are very focused on looking at the big picture and that you're changing things up for your clients. It's really wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you have a story about a favorite lesson horse?
Yeah, my very first lesson horse, she was the person who I was had my horse in training with, and I was taking lessons from her. She found this little horse who just seemed like the wildest little thing to me, just wild. And my trainer was leaving, and that's how I started in this whole business 30 years ago. Is she convinced me that I needed to be a trainer in Las Vegas, because there were not a lot of options for people, especially, who do both English and Western, and, just teaching with kindness kind of idea. And I'm looking at this horse who's completely, she can't stand still on the hitching pole. She's pawing at the ground. She's going nuts. I'm like, what are you, crazy? She says, yes, you need this horse. And so I was working with that horse, and one of my nieces came out. She was like 4 years old, and she's like, yeah, put her up on her. And so I put her up on her, and this horse turned into the best, just careful, the big doe eyes, and she was adorable. I was convinced after that. And she was the best horse. I had her for 17 years. And, I would have lessons with her where the kid was so tiny that their legs weren't longer than the saddle pad. Or even these are tiny little people, and all, you use your voice for everything. And she would just go right along, and she was just as careful as could be. But then, if an adult rode her, she could be a spitfire, she could just be la, 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 let's go. And, she cured a lot of people of their fear of cantering, because she never bucked. She never do anything naughty. I shouldn't say never, probably 99.9% of the time.
She's still a horse.
She was the best. She was just so great. I just love that horse.
That's awesome. What was her name?
Crimson and Clover.
Crimson and Clover? That's adorable. What breed was she?
I'm not sure. We actually met somebody at a horse show one time who knew her. She had been a trail horse up at Bonnie Springs. She was one of the famous trail horses up there that everybody loved her. I could see why. And we tried to get some more information. We found out she was a lot younger than the vet had told me. And I think we figured that she was like a thoroughbred, maybe Tennessee walking horse or something. She was smaller and light, but her coloring was like a sorrel. She was just cute. She was a cute horse.
She sounds amazing. And almost everyone who talks about their favorite lesson horse ends up being like a caretaker mare. So I just wanted to say that out loud. I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, she was great. She really got it. She really got it with the kids. That was the most amazing thing for me, to see this, what I thought of as a wild horse, because I didn't know her at all. And put my niece up there, and I'm waiting to catch her when she, bounced off or something. And Crimson was just the best. The change on her face was incredible. Yeah, it was neat.
That's gorgeous. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing. Is there something that surprised you while teaching?
Sometimes when, there's some horses, I've had them for years and years, and I teach lots of people on them and stuff. And every once in a while, there is a particular person that that they just won't do anything for. They just really don't want to work for this person. And normally I have other horses, that I can try, and it takes me a while to figure out, well, gee, what is it with this person? Because, this horse, like I have one right now, her name is Hallie. She's my daughter-in-law's horse. And every once in a while, she's absolutely like, no, I will not operate for this person. I won't, just every single thing they try to do, she's like, no. So, and she's not like that at all. She's really not. So, so now I have that person riding a couple of different horses, and she's doing fine, and she's worked through it. But I get it. I get what Hallie was trying to tell me about her. She's got a very strong personality, and she has a lot of experience with, what would you call it? Like sort of terrifying animals. Like she works with like, alligators, crocodiles, parrots, like she worked with all these animals that are kind of violent. So I think she's maybe had that sort of defensive feel about her. I'm not sure.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Not that she was terrifying animals. She was working with animals that were terrifying. Got it. Yes.
They were, she's like, oh, you have to be, like a parrot could bite your finger off and all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Okay, so she created a big shell around her, and the horse probably didn't enjoy that. She wanted her to have more of an open heart. Right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. But what a good lesson. What a good lesson for them. From both.
Yeah.
Yeah, the horses will tell us. That's the coolest thing. You can't fake anything around a horse.
Can't. You really can't.
So do you have a specific transformation story you want to share about one of your students?
I can't think of a specific one. The thing that I tend to see a lot of, I think it is because I have lesson horses, and so I, have a lot of beginners come to ride horses because they don't have one. And I see a lot of people who are very fearful, and they want to ride, they really want to ride, but they're really scared. And so, I just take it very slowly with them and work on things that just step by step, they can gain some confidence. And I appreciate that kind of overcoming of their fear, where a lot of them, they'll end up being people who are jumping horses and, doing amazing things with them. When they first got on, they were terrified. I love to see that.
I love it. Do you think it just takes time, or do you think there's certain things that you help them with in a lesson that help them shift their fear to confidence?
I do. Well, I with all my beginners, I start on the lunge line. If they're really beginners, and so there are certain like bars that I have to reach that can help them, and sometimes it just takes a little bit longer, than with other people. But I will, ask them to do things like without their stirrups, closing their eyes, without their hands, just like at the walk even, or even standing still till they feel better about what they're doing. We do a lot of talking while they're riding. So we talk about, here's the walk, that's a gait, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, and have them count out loud, and have them talk to me about what they're feeling, or even, what they're seeing around them and things like that, or how's Crimson feeling, or whoever, Hallie or somebody, what do you think they're thinking, just to sort of get their mind off of their fear and more focused on, where they are and what they're doing, and if they're having fun, and, kind of that kind of release.
That's so smart. Yeah, because then it takes their mind off the fear, and then it puts it into something more constructive. So, very smart.
And they get, a lot of them get over it, especially the really young ones get over it very quickly.
Yes.
Adults can have more difficulty.
Yep.
I don't often put adults on the lunge line unless I really need to. So, they're a little bit more on their own as far as, kind of taking the leaps.
I hear you. Yeah. I remember always thinking that kids could pick up things physically a lot faster, but a little slower to pick up the concepts. And then the adults can pick up the concepts, but it's a little slower with the physical part. And then the teenagers is anyone's guess, It's kind of in between.
No.
But yeah,
That's the truth.
it's fun to have that variety. And I'm glad you're able to walk them through it literally and talk them through it. That's really smart.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of convincing sometimes, and there are some people who revisit their anxiety and fear, occasionally, and have to talk about it again. It's just like, if you're picturing, say, well, what if my horse, bucks or tosses their head, what if I fall off? I'm like, well, okay, what do you think is going to happen? You think that, a deer is going to jump out of the bushes or something? Well, okay, if you think that might happen, how would you handle that? So we kind of talk through what their skills are to help them not get hurt or not let their horse get hurt, just kind of preventive riding. But, still, I don't want them clamp down on the horse, because they're fearful. It's like, well, just think about those things. Think about how you can handle it and know that you can.
Yes, that's so good. And that's one of the first steps, is knowing that you have the skills to handle anything. And then once you do, I call it riding into your future a few strides ahead. You just focus on exactly how you want it to look, how you want it to feel, how you want it to sound, like hear the footfalls, and get so engrossed in those what if it's amazing instead of what if something bad happens. And that'll totally give them something else, their mind to chew on, because their mind's like a little dog that wants to chew on a bone. So you just better give it something yummy.
There you go.
Yeah, that's so good. So if you could teach a master class to other instructors, what would the topic be, and what would be some of the key points?
Well, I think we've talked a little bit about some of this already, because I do a lot of beginners. I think that there's sort of a fast track to help beginners learn to ride, by putting them on a lunge line. So obviously you have to have a very reliable lunge line horse.
Yes.
This works literally for the littlest kids to grown adults. Like I said, I don't do the adults as much on the lunge line, but I will if they're real beginners, because I want them to get that balanced feel. No matter if they're riding English or Western, dressage, whatever, I teach a balanced seat. And the best way to get that, I feel like, is not holding onto the reins, where they can just feel the horse and feel how their body moves and how the energy of the horse kind of moves through their body. So I like that, starting them on the lunge line starts them right away feeling those kinds of things. And they can't be as defensive and hold on to the reins for everything, when they're a little bit unsteady. They have to learn how to use their legs and their seats. So I would do, and I have exercises like arm exercises, things that I have them do, that I have them go through in every gait, so, and I tell them, well, once you can do this at the canter, you can do it by yourself, so because a lot of them, they're like, do we have to do the lunge line again? I'm like, yes, you do. We'll practice that first. Some kids just have great balance and they'll progress very quickly. Other people, they don't realize how much work they really need to do on their physical body, their balance, their strength, all those things that help you ride a horse better. So that's why I do I really, because I can really watch them that way when they're on the lunge line, And I can also control the horse a lot too.
Yeah, and it helps preserve the horse as well, so they're not being yanked down, which is so important. Yeah. Do you use a grab strap with the kids on the English saddles?
I don't. No? Most of my people that are starting they start Western, and then switch over to English. So I do have a little one on one of my saddles for some kids that want to start English, but generally they ride Western. So there's a saddle horn, but I usually don't let them hold on to it.
Nice. That's so good. Yeah, that's the best way to learn your balance. I love it. And I love that you invite them to close their eyes as well. That's fun.
Yeah, they actually like that. They kind of enjoy the just feeling,
Yeah, I think it's good to play around with just focusing on one sense at a time. So if you take away, what you're looking at, and then if you just focus on listening to what the horse is doing, and then focus on your breath, and then doing more with your visuals and seeing your horse and imagining you're the horse, and that really helps. It's really cool.
Oh, yeah.
So is there anything else you'd like to add that I haven't asked you?
Let's see. I think I kind of said a little bit about why I became a riding instructor.
Oh, I'd love to hear it. Yeah.
I certainly didn't go into it to make money because it's a difficult business to make money in, at least as far as what my business model has been. Because I think what happened to me was I saw what was happening with kids in the community I was living in Las Vegas, and the training that they were getting, the people who were teaching them were screaming and yelling at them. And I mean, I saw this at horse shows, and they were screaming and yelling at my student. You know, I didn't like that kind of thing.
Oh, no.
And I didn't like the way they were treating horses either, and also teaching kids how to treat horses. It was like, okay, well, there are people that probably want to have somebody to teach them a more kind way to handle horses, and who I'm not going to yell at them unless it's really important that something really bad is happening.
Danger, Will Robinson. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I won't say I've never yelled, but sometimes I might raise my voice if something bad is going on. But so yeah, I mean, I guess I would call it. I did it to defend horses from bad riding and prevent students from being caught to be cruel or unfeeling to horses. I think that still is valid.
Yeah.
After all these years, maybe if I'd stayed in Las Vegas long enough, I think I did affect a few trainers in California when I was there, that they're like, oh, look at that. She can train kids without, and train horses without being just awful. It was, it was good for me to be around a lot of other trainers when I was in California. Normally I'm by myself, so the only people who ever see me are the students, but it was gratifying, I think, for me to watch other trainers start copying me.
That's like, good. You're being an excellent model. What part of California were you in?
My horses were in Moore Park.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I was in Folsom and Granite Bay for a little while up near Sacramento. And then I moved down and I was in Altadena, Pasadena, Burbank, and then ended up in Santa Clarita for a year before we moved to Texas. So,
oh, wow, nice.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, a lot of moving.
Yeah.
My one steady lesson horse was with me through the whole thing, and I would say, I'm so sorry we keep moving, and he just looked at me like, hey, you're my home. Wherever we are, it's okay. As long as you're with me.
You are good. Aw.
And he was a little chestnut. He was a gelding, obviously, but he was a steady guy. Sounded a lot like your Crimson, so that was pretty neat.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so if you could create a billboard where every riding instructor could see it, what would it say?
For me?
Yeah, if you created a billboard where every riding instructor would be able to see it, what's the message you'd want to put on for them?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, so my logo is the two horses, kind of nose to nose in the shape of a heart. And that actually is on my billboard out on the road, for my business. And I think that, that probably the word I would want to, or the phrase I would want to say is focus on kindness. It's important to me. And I think when people read my bio and look at my website and stuff, that they get the idea, because those are the kind of people that I attract. They're like, I just love to be with the horses. I want to, learn how to be kind to them and how to treat them well. And so I guess my message is getting across in that way, because most of the people who I get is just, I have the sweetest, nicest people, as students. They're wonderful.
I love it. Well, it's the law of attraction. You put it out there and they come to you.
Yeah. It's great. I love it.
That's beautiful. Aimee, I so enjoyed chatting with you. Thank you for doing this with me.
Yeah, this was fun.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else you wanted to share? Are you taking more clients where you are? Or?
Well, I have a waiting list of people right now.
Okay.
So it's just, I kind of go through my list as I have openings. Everything changes, people move and grow up, or whatever, get horses and stuff. So things change all the time. So, I'm always happy to bring new people in when I can. I am looking into new things because I have older horses. I'm hoping to find out more about the horse-powered reading program.
Oh, cool. Yes.
To do some programs with helping kids learn to read or read better using horses.
Yes.
So that's something that I'm looking into doing, although it's very time consuming to do all the market research and the education and stuff. But I do want to have like a retirement plan for my horses, because they can't as being lesson horses, they are really bored. I've done this with a couple. Like Crimson was the same way. When I had to retire her, she was not happy, so I would make sure that somebody was taking her out for a walk, and she was, getting to be with other people. And she just, because she loved it so much. And then I had a thoroughbred up here who I retired her once, and she was just mad. She was not happy about being retired. So there was one student that I let ride her, that they had a real good connection, until I absolutely, she started having problems that I couldn't safely let people ride her. But, I feel like the horses who get interaction with people, they really like it. So I'm thinking that this would be maybe a way to help them still have that interaction, but not have the physical tax on their bodies, that riding can be.
That's brilliant. I love that so much. And I do have a contact on my Facebook list who does that. So if you want me to put you in touch, I can. So.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about it and get and have a good plan,
Definitely. That's so cool. Well, your horses are blessed to have you as your clients as well. And I'm just so happy I got to chat with you today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, listeners, thank you so much for being here. And please do check the show notes so you can see Aimee's website and learn more about her. Remember to lead with kindness for yourself and for your horse. And may the horse be with you always.